The Knights Templars became the center of attention of Philippe IV, or better known as Handsome Philippe. During 1306, Philippe had great plans for his country and was cruel enough to destroy anyone and everything that would be on his way without blinking. He organized the kidnapping and later poisoning of Pope Boniface VIII. Benedict XI suffered the same fate. Bertrand de Goth, who was formerly the Archbishop of Bordeaux and later Pope Clement, became his puppet in 1305. In 1306, Philippe took the papacy institution from Rome and moved it to Avignon, which was only the second order for the French throne. This event then started a faction called the Avignon Captivity, dividing the Catholic Church by 1377, for the next 68 years, producing rival popes. Once he had the control of the papacy, Philippe had the freedom to act against the Knights Templar. He had numerous reasons, as well as his grudge against the Templars. He had previously applied to the organization to get some sort of honorary Knights Templar status that was given to Richard I a while ago, but he was disappointingly dismissed. Then, in June 1306, an overflowing group of rabble forced Philippe to take shelter in the Parisian temple of the Knights Templar. Philippe witnessed the wealth and resources in first hand. He was fascinated by what he saw. He desperately needed the treasure of the Templars. In the eyes of Philippe, the Templars posed a real threat to the order of the kingdom. In 1291, Akka, the last stronghold of the Western Crusaders in the Holy Land, fell into the hands of the Muslims, and the Latin kingdom of Jerusalem collapsed irrevocably. This eliminated the reason for the Templars, who had the best training, well-equipped and professional military power. They were dangerously left homeless, according to Philippe. The Knights Templar had already established themselves a temporary base in Cyprus, but had much larger plans. They dreamed of their principality or state, similar to Wardenstadt, which Teuton Knights had established in the Baltic and Prussia. They had a lot of political, military and financial power to create something similar to them. Philippe planned his maneuver with great care. He organized a list of charges, partly from the agents that infiltrated the organization, and partly from the confessions of a knight who was declared a traitor. Empowered by these charges, Philippe was now free to act, and his attack was fatal and sudden. With an operation equivalent to today's police raids, he sent sealed orders to all over the course ledgers and enforcement officers across the country. These sealed orders would be opened at the same time everywhere and fulfilled at once. On Friday, October 13, 1307, all the Templars in France would be caught and arrested by the king's men, and their property would be confiscated and expropriated by the royal. No matter how meticulously and confidentially Philippe IV attempted to implement this plan, most of the Templar Knights had been aware of the operation prepared against them and managed to escape. Those who remained, including Grand Master Jacques de Molay, surrendered without any resistance as if an order was given. In 1814, in the Greek manuscript found by chance in one of the bookkeepers on the banks of the River Seine in Paris, an image of the Bible of John was made. But the Bible did not have the last two parts, and there were some explanations separated by triangles. When it was carefully examined, it was revealed in these sections that there was a list of great masters dating back to 1792, starting from Bertrand de Blanchefort, the fifth Grand Master of the Templars. From this document, it is seen that Jacques de Molay handed over the Great Master's post to Arminius at Jerusalem. This means that the Templars were aware of the operation prepared against them and that they take their precautions with the usual systematic care. The escaped knights were scattered all over Europe and were harbored and protected by the kingdoms and princes, who sympathized with their cause to protect the pilgrims, which was their foundation. They changed the name in Portugal and took the name of the Knights of Jesus. Vasco da Gama was one of the Knights of Jesus. The Templars found safe harbors to take refuge in Germany and Spain. They were received very warmly by the sect of Teuton Knights and Knights of St. John. They took refuge in Calatrava in Spain. created a new organization called Montesa. Columbus going to America were sailing with the same Crusader sign, as Paris and its surroundings were well protected by the king's men. The knights who survived Philippe's wrath could not escape by land. Considering that the Grand Master of the French Temple in 1307 acted before the handsome Philippe, left the city with 30 horses and then left the harbor with 18 galleys that never seen again. The Templars who escaped carried their treasures to a safe place by the sea. One claim is that they take it to America. Today, Rosslyn Chapel near Edinburgh is shown as the evidence that the knights who fled Europe passed to America before anyone else known. Rosslyn Chapel, built by William St. Clair in 1456. Aloe plant and corn figures embellished as an ornament on the walls of Rosslyn Chapel, which were unknown to Europe until 1492. It can be understood from the decorations and historical records in the Rosslyn Chapel was built not as a church but as a tomb of the Templar. Until then, the Knights Templar had the freedom to build their churches without permission from Rome. They were generally in a circular or more of an elliptical shape. One of the most beautiful examples of these is the Templar Church in London, which still stands. The most logical explanation for why they built the Rosslyn Chapel on a rectangular plan is that it corresponds exactly to the Solomon Temple in Jerusalem. While it is possible to come across many Templar symbols in Rosslyn Chapel, there are no Christian pictures or symbols found, like in all the other churches, especially the altar. There are no other symbols or figures on walls, other than the Virgin Mary and Jesus, and also some stained glass, which was added later on. British history professor Christopher Dyer offers us the best proof of this. In the British Civil War between 1642 and 1651, commander of the parliamentary forces, Cromwell, was known for hunting kingdom supporters in Ireland. Wales, and Scotland also raised their Catholic properties. While Cromwell destroyed every Catholic church in his path, he visited Rosslyn personally and did not even touch a stone. Dyer says that Cromwell was a high-level Freemason and was aware that this is a Masonic shrine. A misunderstood fact is that the Templars established the first money transfer system in history. In fact, they learned the main lines of this system from the assassins, with whom they worked for a long time. The assassins had good relations with the Templars. The assassins were set out to pay taxes to the Seljuk Turks. To hide their money, they would deposit to the die sheikhs and show a piece of leather with the seal to other die sheikh on their destination, and get money back. Of course, the Knights Templar developed this system and added encryption as they learned from the Jews. The Templars, who offered almost all of the services provided by today's banks, were accustomed to do their work with great care. The Templars must have informed the great masters in Europe for whereabouts of the treasure, so they can bring it back when they need. The location and how to reach the treasure must have conveyed to them. Columbus was married to the daughter of the past great master and had access to his maps and logs. Perhaps because Christophe Columbus was married to the daughter of the past great master, he had access to some maps and started exploring America. But did the Knights Templars embark on such an adventure to escape the Pope and the French king, without knowing there was a place beyond the Atlantic? Or did they know where they were going? One thing we know is that the Templars had been in Jerusalem for 2 centuries and had close relations with Muslims and Jews. They made excavations under the Herod Temple. While not knowing what their main purpose was, a widespread belief is that they were looking for the Ark of Covenant. While they were searching for the chest, it was very likely they found some of the treasures and precious writings that the Essenians hid while fleeing. That explains how the Knights Templars suddenly had an incredible fortune. It is estimated Essenien's treasure was around $500 million in today's value, but what was much more valuable was the manuscripts of Esseni's with secret information. In their book, Hiram's Key, Christopher Knight and Robert Lomas claim the Templars found these manuscripts and brought them to Scotland to safeguard it from the Pope. They were safe with Robert at Bruce in Scotland. Bruce was apostrophized by the Pope for a while because of killing his opponent John Comyn in the church in front of everyone. Knight and Lomas go so far as to claim that Templars hid them in the caves under Rosslyn Chapel, but even if we assume that all this is true, how did the Essenians know there is a piece of land beyond the ocean? As far as we know, Essenians did not have a fleet or any nautical knowledge. The interesting fact is this sect did not disappear. It still exists in southern Iraq as part of the Mandean sect, which study the roots of its religious heritage in line with John the Baptist, not Jesus. Denomination emerged between 100 and 300 AD. This date range coincides exactly with the dates when the Essenians disappeared without leaving a trace behind them. Mandaeans are a small and stubborn community that is based on Gnosticism. Living in Iraq, conducts ceremonies such as self-immigration and Freemasonry. Mandaeans call their priest the Nazarene, and the name of these people comes from the word mandra, which means secret knowledge. Mandaeans use a form of handshake in a ritual named kushta. It is a sign given to the candidates at the ceremony, which indicates doing the right things. Just like the Freemasons do. Another point of the ceremonies that reminds of Freemasonry, just like the secret words of Freemasonry whispered in the ear when the Master Mason candidate gets out of his grave, says a silent prayer when the candidates symbolically die in the ceremony. The Jewish historian Josephus of the 1st century wrote that the Essenians believed the good spirits reside in an area beyond the ocean, where there is no rain or snowstorms and where the sweet western winds coming from the ocean. From Jews to Greeks and Celts, this is a common belief in most cultures. It is believed the inhabitants of this remote country cannot be seen because they are so innocent, and this place is marked by a star named Marika. A country beyond the ocean is the perfect place marked by a star known as Marika, or maybe America. The day star was important for Nazareths. So the Star of the West, the planet Venus, although it is not based on any evidence and remains only as a hypothesis, it provides enough reason to think that the Templars had these manuscripts and were aware of the existence of the American continent and may have hidden their treasures in America.